everyone. I'm Abigail. This is Kalifa. And welcome to another Two Kids interview.
We are joined by award-winning author Nicole Melleby.
Some of Ms. Melby's books include Hurricane Season, How to Become a Planet,
In the role of Brie Hutchens, Camp Quiltbag,
The Signs of Being Angry, the picture book Sunny and Oswaldo,
and coming in April 2024, Winnie Nash is Not Your Sunshine. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I've had books challenged and banned.
This means in some part of the country, kids don't have the same access to yours and other books that we have.
And some kids having less opportunity to see themselves represented in books.
Can you give us your thoughts on this trend?
Yeah, it's hard when you hear that books are being challenged because you want kids to be able to have access to any kind of book that they need to read, especially kids who see themselves in the books that are being challenged. So I work really hard just to make sure that if my books are being challenged, that I am fighting for those books to be on shelves. I try and make sure that as many kids have access to these books as possible. And there's a lot of things too that anyone can do. Even younger kids. You can, if your library, for example, had a really great Pride display, you can email the library, or if you go to the library and let the librarians know that you really appreciated that they had the display there, so that they know that they're doing something that makes you happy. I find that a lot of the time, just letting libraries and schools know that you are happy with what they're doing, in terms of having the books on the shelves and not letting the books get challenged. Positive feedback goes a really long way. And I always think that that's a nice, easy way to combat all the negative energy that is coming at the librarians and stuff as well. So I think the important thing is just to know that all kids should have access to all the kinds of books and be able to see themselves, and anything that we can do to help them do that, I think, is important.
We all agree here that representation is very important.
But is that even enough? We think having windows into other people's circumstances is really important too.
Should places that don't ban books take it a step further and make sure that books have representation to be required in schools so there can be more understanding between people?
Yeah, I think window and mirror books are both really important. Mirror books being the books that you're looking in a mirror and seeing yourself reflected back, and the window books being the ones where you're looking out a window and seeing someone else's point of view. And both of these are really important. And I think that I think that schools and libraries should absolutely work hard to have those books on their shelves, especially in places where they're able to. That way, everyone's getting to see all these books and learn and see that these books aren't that different from any other book. If you have a book with a gay kid and they're going through their first crush, it's the same thing as a kid who isn't gay going through their first crush. It's the same experience. And having window and mirror books are great ways for anyone, kids and adults, to learn to have empathy for one another and to really understand each other. So if it is something that isn't being challenged in your area, and if it's something that you can put on your shelves, I absolutely think that you should, that an effort should be made to require these books. Yeah.
How are your books influenced by your own childhood?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I was younger, I didn't know that I was queer, so I didn't have the exact same experience as my characters. I just didn't know. I didn't have access. I didn't have access to these kind of books to understand, much about my own identity. So when I write, I kind of think about what I wish I had access to. So I wish that I had those mirror books growing up. I wish my friends had those window books growing up, so that we all kind of could understand each other a little better. So when I write, I think about that a lot, and I think about what it would have been like if I had a different experience.
Mental illness is a topic you've talked about in your books. Why is that important to you?
I think that a lot of people think that mental illness is, more of an adult issue. And I don't think that's true. I think that kids also struggle. Kids can have depression. Kids have a lot of anxiety, especially, in this post-COVID world. I think that a lot of kids are experiencing, different emotions that they maybe didn't before. So I think that it's important to be able to have books that kids can read to see these things, and to see that, it is something that maybe you're struggling with, and that's okay. So which is why I make it a point of trying to show that in my books.
Can you tell us more about your upcoming book, Winnie Nash is Not Your Sunshine?
Yeah, so Winnie Nash is a 12-year-old who is spending the summer at her grandma's house by the beach, because her parents are, they've been going through some things. Her mom had a miscarriage, so she was going through a big depression, and they're just kind of coming out of her getting help and getting better from that. And her mom is pregnant again. So there's a lot of stress at home. So Winnie spends the summer at her grandparents' house, except her dad asks Winnie not to tell her grandma any of the details about what was happening at home, and not to let her grandma know that Winnie is gay. Winnie likes girls. So she's keeping a lot of secrets, and so the whole book is kind of Winnie trying to find her sense of community and her sense of understanding of who she is, in the face of having to kind of keep things a secret, and kind of dealing with that.
What is your process when putting a book together?
Do you decide the end before the middle?
Or do you put it together in order?
I write from beginning to end. I have to go in order. I don't like skipping around, mostly because I don't really have a plan when I write. I usually come up with a character first and then kind of figure out the plot as I go along. So if I were to jump around, I'd probably get confused and stuff like that. So I need to go from start to finish, all the way through without stopping. I don't go back and change things until I'm finished with everything. I go from beginning to end, full steam ahead.
Can you tell us about a time when you were doing something and you noticed someone or something and thought, I need to put that in a book?
It's funny. I try and, really think, when I'm out and about, I'm, going for walks or hanging out at the beach or just, living life. I'm always observing people. I like to people watch. So, I don't know if I can think of a particular moment, but I'm always alert. I'm always kind of, if I see someone who's wearing, a particular outfit that stands out to me, or if someone says something that, I overhear that makes me laugh, I'll jot it down and then kind of come home and take notes and eventually use that in a book. I once I did a school visit, and there was a kid with bright blue hair, and it was kind of wild. And I remember thinking about, this crazy blue hair for a while afterwards. And I ended up putting a kid with wild blue hair in one of my books, just because it was just something that stood out to me, and something that I think, those little details that I think make people stand out is what I'm always looking for and paying attention to.
You co-authored the book Camp Quiltbag with AJ Sass.
What are the good things and the challenges of co-authoring a novel?
It was actually a lot of fun to co-author Camp Quiltbag with AJ Sass. We're good friends, so that helped a lot. We were able to just kind of have fun with it. It was kind of, writing sometimes feels very, very lonely and isolating because you're focused and you're doing it by yourself. But with AJ, you had someone to continuously talk about the characters with, like, oh, did you see what would they do here? Do you think they get in trouble here? Which was a lot of fun. I would write a chapter and then send it to AJ, and then he would write the next chapter and send it back, and we went back and forth the whole time. So it was really exciting to, waiting to see what he would write for his chapter, because I didn't, sometimes I didn't know where he was going to take it. So I got to be a writer and a reader during the project. The hardest thing was probably, we write very differently. We have different processes. So I go from beginning to end and I just push through without revising. Andrew plans more. So he thinks about things and outlines and goes a little slower, and he'll go back and fix things before going forward. So we kind of had to figure out a way to meet each other in the middle. So it was a lot about compromise and learning about how each other writes. And I think it was actually a really good learning experience for me as a writer, because I had to think differently about how I was writing.
Writing isn't easy, and rejection seems to be a part of most writers' story. Can you tell us about that part of your journey?
Yeah, rejection is part of every writer's journey. It has to be. Not everybody's going to like everything you write. Writing is subjective. I mean, you might like something that I don't like, or I could like something that you don't like, and it doesn't make it a bad book, or it doesn't make it a bad story. It's just everyone has different tastes. So when you're trying to get a book published, you got to find the right person who has the same tastes and who likes your book and who's, it's like, no, this is a great book. I want to get this published. So you're going to get a lot of rejection along the way. And my advice is always to just keep pushing forward. Just keep knowing that, you're going to get rejection. Everyone gets rejection. It only takes that one yes to make something happen. And there's rejection at every stage of the writing process. A new writer faces rejection the same way that a writer who has had 10 or 20 books out still faces, because the books are always changing. Readers are always wanting different things. So you never really know. And if you just keep pushing and keep moving forward, eventually you're going to find that person who says yeah.
What writer has had the most influence on you?
So my favorite kidlit writer is Kate DiCamillo. I read an article once where she had said, let kids be sad, like it's okay to let kids be sad. So when I'm writing and I think about, kids, queer kids or mentally, kids struggling with their mental health, it's okay to let them feel that and to be sad. And I learned that from Kate DiCamillo. Her big advice was, to always tell the truth, but to make it bearable. So you can always, be honest about how these things affect your characters and how, maybe they are sad, maybe they're angry. But at the end of the day, you want there to be hope that everything could still be okay, because everything can still be okay. So I take a lot from Kate as a writer and the things she said, and her books have always been some of my favorites.
What advice do you have for young people who want to write?
So if you want to be a writer, I always say, you have to write. You have to write and just, keep going, keep writing, keep pushing forward. Always finish that story and start on the next, and read. I think that reading has probably helped me with my own writing more than anything else. And reading books that are similar to the ones that I write and books that are completely different than what I write, because you can always learn a lot from any kind of story. And I think that if you're a big reader, I think that it helped you become a really good writer.
That's big advice.
Do you also have a smaller tip, something you do when you're writing?
That maybe a lot of people don't.
I always say that if you're struggling with writer's block, what works for me, and it might not work for everyone, but what works for me, and I always tell people to try, is what they call 20-minute sprints. So for 20 minutes, you set a timer, and for 20 minutes, you just write. You don't stop for that whole 20 minutes, and you make yourself write. And sometimes, that first 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you're not really writing anything good because you are still, blocked and figuring it out. But by the end of that 20 minutes, usually you hit a flow, and then you can keep writing for longer than that 20 minutes. So that's usually my tip for writer's block.
Every Nicole Melleby fan knows Timony's Pizzeria.
What is your real favorite pizza place?
Oh, my real favorite pizza place is a restaurant near me called Old Glory that does really good brick oven pizzas. It's also by the water. It's not on the boardwalk, but it's right by the water, and that's where we always get our pizza.
We are excited for Winnie Nash is Not Your Sunshine coming in April. Can you tell us about another project that you are working on now?
Yeah, so it hasn't been announced yet, so I can't talk too much, but I'm working again with Catherine Locke on another anthology, like our anthology, This Is Our Rainbow. So keep an eye out for more about what that anthology is and when you might see it soon.
Finally, it's time for Turbo 10.
10 rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. Number 1, what is your favorite phrase to use?
My favorite phrase to use is, oh man, that's tough. I'm so bad at lightning rounds. My favorite phrase is, I don't know. Let's skip this one. I'll go back to it.
Number 2, what is one subject you'd love to learn more about?
Oh, that's a good one. I would like to learn more about, I think, weather patterns, especially hurricanes.
Number 3, what is your go-to snack food?
My go-to snack food is popcorn.
Number 4, what was your favorite book growing up?
My favorite book growing up was Holes.
Number 5, if you could teleport somewhere right now, where would you go?
Ooh, I would go to someplace warm, probably. Let's say the south of France.
Number 6, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Ooh, flying.
Number 7, what was your favorite cartoon as a kid?
My favorite cartoon was Hey Arnold.
Number 8. What is your favorite rainy day activity?
Rainy day activities. My favorite rainy day activity is binge watching on Netflix.
Number 9. If you could have any 3 dinner guests, who'd they be?
Ooh, we'll say Kate DiCamillo. Let me think. We'll say Michelle Obama and Laura Dern.
Number 1. What is your favorite phrase to use?
My favorite phrase is, I still don't know this one. This is a tough one. Do you have a favorite phrase? I can't think of anything. This is a tough one.
Maybe let's go.
Let's go. That's a good one. That's a good one. I say what's up a lot to all my friends, so we'll go with that. What's up? A nice classic average phrase.
And last but not least, number 10. What is the best piece of advice you were ever given?
The best piece of advice I was ever given was basically just to, keep going forward, keep pushing forward no matter what.
You did awesome. Thank you so much for doing that.
And thank you so much for joining us.
We
All
can't
right,
wait to read your future books.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.